implied and otherwise unspoken prejudice. It operates at the level of individual actors, often occurs at the system level through practices and policies applied to classification of people, systematic in hiring and promotion of minorities across many industries, policing and justice, housing, media coverage, local and state and federal policies towards urban America, including disproportionate public school funding, to name a few. So too, implicit bias occurs when protesters are called thugs by politicians and media, when minorities are followed through stores as a presumptive thieves by security guard, and women are paid less than men for the same job. To me, that's the most significant one.
Well, I would say that the most significant one, yet again, is I'm sorry. Is this self-hatred is the most important, and I think that bothers me more than anything. Primarily because I don't think that you have to work in a world where you see that every day. Like in discussing the word nigger, I'll have students say, well, that's what I am. And somebody says, well, it's not what you call me, it's what I respond to. And when people respond to that, or, I don't want to go out on the beach because I'm too black already, or when they're, in somebody's hair who's straight and, admiring it and saying that so-and-so has good hair, or, it's just this, I see this in kids constantly, and I think it defeats them, because some people have been telling them, you're dark, or this is, or, here's your issue, or you don't look right, or, what's wrong with you. It prevents kids from functioning, and then they don't work to their best because they believe in their own inferiority. And it's again, people can dislike you or follow you, but if you hate yourself, and you really some people, when you hate yourself, you accept what others are doing to you because you believe that it's okay, because you actually are inferior. The sense of inferiority, it's just back to the same question. Would you leave the plantation? No, I wouldn't do that. I've had people say I'd stay on the plantation. If I was a house slave, it would be better for me. So, this is, that's my concern.
Okay. So,
you've never witnessed that among people, the self-hatred, the hating of the color of their skin?
It is, but I think more people are discriminated against in corporate America. More people are discriminated against by the police. More black people are discriminated in the school system. To me, implicit bias is something that I think happens more to black people in this society as a whole. And if I had to pick one, that's the one I would pick. Now, it says, while there are no absolute remedies, there are some best practices. And he gave 5 best practices. Avoid presuppositions, unfounded or misinformed assumptions that unfairly categorize people and circumstances. Right? So don't, assume something. Examine your preference in light of your action to ascertain if they are harmful to others. For instance, if your preference for tall people disadvantages short people, then your preference is a bias. Work to overcome it. Always ask, what if my perspective or action pertain to someone I love or to me? Would they be okay? How will I fix them? Seek advice from the people who are affected. Be open to sincere feedback. I think that's very important. Examine honestly your organization policies and practice to unmask presuppositions that may lead to discrimination and other detrimental effects, and have the courage to change them. Oh boy, that's going to be that's a long way off. Whether in business or personal life, racial bias separates people from their possibilities, organization from the causes of equality and justice, and society from the benefits of true inclusion. It is incumbent on each of us to eliminate racial bias where we find it in our lives, our homes, our workplace, and wherever we encounter it. So that's a pretty good article, man. 5 steps to understanding racial bias. Dr. John Fitzgerald Gates.
I'm like, since we're looking at HuffPost today, look at this, HuffPo Black Voices. Here's a suggested proof for you. Definitive proof that Ted Nugent, and you see, I don't know if you can even say this word on the air. Well, I mean, it's here. It says definitive proof that Ted Nugent is a dick. That's what it says. Is the headline. I don't know if I want to read that. I don't know if I want to know about Ted Nugent. That's your guy, so I'll let you look at that article. And looking at this one here, African American success factors. Do you think African American success is any different than any other group of people's success? Do you think that, you know, I mean, are we so different than anyone else? You know,
I don't understand.
Well, you know, one thing about being black is when someone black does something, we all seem to, like if somebody gets arrested, you know, a house has been blown up, and the first thing, you know, the black person is going to wonder, did this happen? You know, was a person black who blew up the house? You know, man robbed, was it a black person who did that? And there's this collective groupthink that we have. I mean, we pretty much vote the same, and or at least people think we're a monolithic. So whenever somebody messes up, I have to take responsibility for that. But I know this is not something that white people are plagued with. They don't have to take responsibility for every mass murderer or anything that's happened in history, whereas black people do that. Because we're judged as an aggregate. And I think this is why the microaggressions or any kind of aggression happens. Somebody robs somebody, and then you come in, and just because you're black, you could be a robber as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a cause of a lot of the bias. And so thus the image that's put out about us on television and the media and in various other places gives everybody this impression, black and white, of what a black person is. You know, one time a student said, you know, we were talking about immigration, and this was a couple of years ago, and this kid says, well, you know, when you see a bunch of Mexicans out on the corner, you know what they're doing. Now, let me ask you this. If you see a bunch of Mexicans standing around on a corner, what do you think they're doing?
I don't know.
See, you're not going to ever answer the question.
No, but I don't know. What would I think they're doing? I mean, maybe they're hanging out. Maybe there's a store close by, a Mexican store close by.
The common thought is if you see a bunch of Mexicans standing around, they're waiting to be picked up as day laborers for a job.
That yeah. I can see that.
Okay.
I would think that.
So, you know, when this kid said that.
Let me ask you a question.
Huh?
Most of the time, that's true.
All right. So when I said, you know, I thought that was funny because I don't get to see that much around here in some communities.
But you can't say Mexicans do. You can say, you know, a Mexican is going to be a Hispanic.
No, specifically Mexicans.
Are they considered to be Hispanic?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, you can say Hispanic because it can include, you know, it can include countries other than Mexico. It can include Bolivia.
Okay.
You know, it can include other countries. So if you just say Mexican, that's bad.
Why is that?
Because you were saying that if they're from other countries as well, they're all Mexican. You're stereotyping.
No, I mean I wouldn't. I doubt highly if I could.
But you don't know if they're Mexicans or not.
I doubt highly if I would. The word's not substitute. Make a mistake of a Mexican for Puerto Rican or.
But it could be from Guatemala.
Yeah, true. That's true.
It could be from Bolivia.
All right.
You
but
really don't know.
Let me
it
continue.
Could be from Paraguay.
Yeah, they surely could.
Yeah.
Then so I said, you know, when the kid said that, I mean, I thought that was funny because, I mean, I don't live in Staten Island, so I don't get to see that often around here, if at all. I mean, I wouldn't know where to find a day laborer. And I says, well, let's take that stereotype. So if you see a bunch of black kids standing around on the corner, what are they doing? Everybody, they selling drugs. I say, you see a bunch of white kids standing around on a corner. What are white men standing around the corner? Oh, they get ready to buy up the property. You see a bunch of Asian kids standing around. What do you, oh, they're doing a math problem. I mean, this is what so people have these, I mean, and I've done this several times, and I get the same answers. See a bunch of Arabs standing around, oh, they get ready to blow up some shit. You know, I mean, this is how people think. And so there are these stereotypes that existed. So we're all, you know, we take that because it's the easy road. It's the easy way to answer something. And sometimes a stereotype, you know, when somebody says, Miss Lloyd, can you fry chicken? And, ooh, that's racist. I mean, black people were the ones who started frying chicken. So, you know, and yes, watermelon does taste good to me. So, I mean, I'm not going to take that as a racist assumption, you know, or pretend that I don't like
context,
that.
Though. It depends on
yeah,
the context.
It depends on the context. But at the same time, if it's just, you know, in passing, I'm not going to take that as I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'll eat some fried chicken and some watermelon. That tastes good. Now, I could do without the red Kool-Aid part, but, you know, there are things about that. You know, there are things that we actually do, but I'm not going to take credit that every time a crime is committed, it's committed by, and what kind of crime are we talking about? I mean, there's all kinds of crimes out there. I mean, if we were talking about so-called white-collar crime, that doesn't seem to be as bad as, you know, somebody busting up a window or something. So
did you hear about this black kid that got accepted to all 8 Ivy League schools and decided not to go to any one of them?
I heard and I saw that headline, but I never read the article.
Yeah, there was just one out.
Do you remember why he decided not to go to any of them?
Let's listen and see if we can figure out why.
So you got an audio there?
Yeah, we got an audio here.
Where's the audio coming from?
Black Atlanta Black Star.
I have a hard time getting their audios to come up for some reason.
Yeah.
8 of the top Ivy League schools and a few more for good measure. So how would you help them make the decision of where to go?
Really is amazing, and Ronald Nelson Jr. was facing this choice, and instead of picking any of them, he went with the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. So Ronald Nelson, good morning. So you got Harvard, Yale, Princeton, every other Ivy, also Johns Hopkins. So why go ahead with University of Alabama? Why was that your pick?
Well, it was really a variety of, personal and financial reasons. I originally applied to, so many schools because I didn't want to close any of my doors off. I really didn't want to short sell myself. So when I got into all of those schools, it was, of course, an incredible surprise. But ultimately, I ended up choosing the University of Alabama because not only was I accepted into their top honors program, which was the University Fellows Experience, I also received generous amounts of scholarship money for national merit finalists, things like that, and also my ACT scores. And I just thought that it was something that I didn't really want to pass up because I was looking towards my long-term education and not so much my short-term goals, really. And I plan on going to medical school, and I figured that I might as well just save that money now and hopefully spend it on graduate school in the future.
Yeah, smart. All of the parents watching right now are thinking, not only would I love for my kid to get into that many schools, but I'd love them to have the vision I think that you have at this point in your career. So we know you want to be a doctor, following in some family footsteps with that one, and eventually maybe work with Doctors Without Borders. What are you most excited, though, about your college experience? Because this is a big step for you. You're going to be a freshman in college.
Yes. What am I most excited about?
Yeah.
I definitely have to say that what I'm most excited about is definitely working with the UFE at Alabama because they're going to give me invaluable experience working with, the assistant dean and the dean of the honors college there, working with so many different like-minded and progressive students there. And I'm just incredibly excited to work with those students that both share my academic interests and also completely don't share my academic interests. And having that kind of diversity of minds there, I think will really just develop me throughout my college experience, and I'm very, very excited about it.
All right, Ronald, last question. Did you have a safety school? When you get in? A good backup plan.
Well, yes, definitely. I made sure that I had safety schools, schools that I might get into, and also reach schools, of course. So it was really important to me. But, with regard to the safety school question, it was really important to me that I did have safety schools, but that I was also making sure that I was reaching for the stars in my college applications. And that's what I would recommend to anyone who's applying coming up.
Great advice.
Well, the reach worked. I mean, talk about an awesome outcome for you, and good luck. We have a feeling we're going to be hearing lots more from you in the future.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll say once again, roll tide.
Yeah.
Ronald Nelson, thanks.